Welcome back to the Long Fly Ball podcast, where Tyler didn't show up to his college classes and he's still at my house. On today's episode, we've got another special guest, this time from Kearney High School, one of the best pitchers in Kansas City over the last 2 seasons, one half of the Helberg tandem at Kearney. Eli Helberg joins the show. Tyler, you and Eli are related, we found out in the last couple weeks. So for the sake of the show, break that down for me.
All right, so I do some research on it.
You spit
So
the
his grandpa is my grandma's cousin. So we are third cousins once removed. It's weird, but
interest. And you found out about this now, like recently?
yeah, it was at the Jamboree, I think, right?
Yeah.
Did
Interesting.
not know.
Interesting. So today's episode, we're going to go over some of the opening week stuff. Obviously, guys have played 5 or 6 games. I think the max the teams have put in so far is 6. Kind of talk about the rest of the season for Kearney. Obviously, a ranked group is going to compete in 5A. They're in 5A now, right?
Yeah, we're in 5A.
Okay. Talk some future stuff because you are currently uncommitted. And talk about your goals for baseball. And then later in the episode, after the Eli interview, we'll talk about some more general baseball stuff for Kansas and the St. Louis area.
So you guys started off at the Metro Leadoff Tournament at Creekside. You guys started off slow at Blue Springs. That is the game you pitched. You went 3 innings. You got a loss, but unearned run. But after that, you guys started speeding it up with the bats, and you guys just got it going from beating a really good Oak Park team and a really good Shawnee Mission East team. What led up to getting the bats going and figuring stuff out?
I think mostly it was just our approaches at the plate. I think there are a few guys on the team that aren't experienced a whole bunch. Like our DH, he's a first-time varsity player. Our first baseman, it's his first year on varsity. I think we had some nervousness to us, like in the Blue Springs game, but I think after that, we just kind of everyone felt comfortable and we all had our approaches right, and I think that's why we started doing well.
You guys also competed with Lee Summit West, who's a top 5 team. They have really good players. I'm sure you played with some in comp ball. How did it feel going against them and competing?
It's great. I mean, love going against the top teams, especially a team like that. They got Drew Dickerson, who's just an anomaly. I mean, it's crazy. He's just huge. I mean, there's no other way to put it. He's fun to watch. Those are always fun games, especially when they're close like that. Those are just the best games, really.
I do want, going back to the Blue Springs game, talk a little bit about your approach. It's not beginning of the year. You're not expecting to go out and throw 140 pitches or whatever the max is, 120, and pitch a full 7. But I mean, statistically speaking, not a bad game. Only 3 innings pitched. You only gave up 2 hits and an unearned run, as Tyler mentioned. And you faced 14 guys to a 143 batting average again. So what was kind of the approach going in? Obviously, you probably knew you were pitching to start the year. So how did it feel going in? What are some thoughts, on the back end of that start?
It felt good. I was definitely happy with how it ended up. I think I had a little bit of trouble controlling my fastball. I was really slider and curveball heavy that game, which, I mean, it seemed to work well, but I really want to get my fastballs going next time. That's kind of my goal going into my next start, is to be able to control my pitches and be able to throw them whenever I want.
How's the advantage of having your brother as the backstop before games and just getting a game plan ready, living with him? It's just like that. You get to see, normally the catcher pitcher relationship's really good, but you guys are brothers.
Yeah, I think it's even better. I mean, we he's seen me throughout the years. He's seen me improve. He's seen me, pitching all the time. So I just think it it helps so much just because he knows me so well as a pitcher. He knows just what I like. We both are usually like on the same page with what to call pitches and stuff, and it helps a lot. And he's a great catcher too, so I love throwing to him.
Not a lot of shakes going on the mound with you two.
No,
You guys just like at breakfast, just talking about sequences that night.
yeah,
Like, I love it. And that's something that like Tyler and I, we both have brothers, but something we never got to experience. I know your brothers are younger, right, Tyler? And then
I caught my
Evan.
older brother.
Yeah, I never. My brother's 11. I have one brother, and he's younger than I am. So it's like an opportunity that I never got to have. So, I mean, obviously being the younger of the two, what's kind of that experience been like for you from the perspective of, you know, you probably looked up to Jack at some point, when you're in middle school and he's in high school, getting these great opportunities. I mean, Jack has silently been one of the best players in Kansas City for a couple of years now. Um, and we've seen you explode onto the scene as well. So what's that like? I mean, kind of both being in that spotlight, but being the younger of the two.
yeah. I've never really like felt like I've been in the shadow, like you might hear, but it's always been great. I like playing up with him. It's always been so much fun because I got to play up with him and play up with some of his friends, and yeah, it's just been great. I love being I like being able to call him my brother. It's sweet.
Does that aid development at all? Obviously playing up does, but does, your brother, being able to kind of guide you in some ways, as especially being the catcher, does that kind of, aid development for you?
100%. Because like he's caught some of the best guys in Missouri and Kansas, and if I'm struggling with something, he'll be like, "Oh, at practice I was catching, like Cole Gibbler or someone like that." He's like, "He had the same problem. This is how he fixed it." And so there's been a few instances where he's been able to help me like that, and he's really smart about that stuff. So he's definitely been able to help me for sure.
Got you. Um, so you'll start this week or on Friday, I guess, against Platte County. So
Yeah.
obviously you talked about trying to get the fastball working. What's the mindset going into that start? 2 days before. I mean, things could change, but you kind of know by this point what that lineup's sort of going to look like. So
Mhm.
what's the mentality going into that?
Um, Really just trying to probably just establish that fastball and just get comfortable throwing it because I feel like last week I think my problem was I just wasn't trusting it as much as my off speeds. So really just trying to get those going early, letting them work, letting them move how they move, and not trying to kind of just guide it in there, just letting them do their thing really.
As we kind of talk about pitch development and pitch mix and things like that, in the off season, what are you working on as a pitcher? We talked a little bit to Drew. It's different as a hitter, but what does, trying to widen your variety or work on a fastball, what does that look like for you in the off season through the summer, things like that?
Yeah. So over like last summer, I had a problem with like cutting the ball. I was getting really off to the side of it. And so basically in the off season, like that was pretty much my main focus was just figuring out how to get back behind the ball, back pronating more because it was affecting like my two seam, my four seam. I was just cutting it a bunch and it was taking velo off. So that was mostly my biggest focus was figuring that out. And I think I've done a good job of fixing that. That was probably my biggest focus this off season, but also just cleaning up mechanics, and just trying to stay healthy.
If I'm right, you hyperextended your knee, right, last year?
I tore my meniscus last year
Okay.
and
Okay.
I got surgery in September. It wasn't super bad. It was only like month recovery and I was back lifting. It wasn't that bad.
Did you have to fix your mechanics at all, adjust just
Um
because of that?
Sort of. So like at the beginning, like I tore it in like January of last year. And so like over the high school season, like I sort of had a problem with it. Like when I would like drop into my motion, I would put my knee too far over my foot, and that would just like put a lot of pressure on my knee, and I would get this like popping out feeling, but it was a sign of bad mechanics anyway. So I just, kind of fixed my hinge or my drop, and that made my knee feel a lot better. And I really didn't have a problem with it like over the rest of the spring and the whole summer. So it wasn't too bad.
I feel like knee injuries for pitchers are like, I know Tyler has, but if you heard the Chiefs offensive lineman who like needs Tommy John because he tore his UCL, and it's like anybody who's not throwing anything, that doesn't matter because it doesn't bother you. So it's
Yeah.
like as long as you have good mechanics, I feel like some of those little tic tac injuries that in other
Hmm.
sports be debilitating. I mean, you tear a meniscus in basketball, you're out for 6
Yeah.
to 8 weeks. You can't jump, can't bear weight. But in baseball, there's a one mechanical fix, and it seemed to kind of alleviate the issue. I don't have your stats from last year because they didn't save in our website correctly. I might be able to pull up a couple of them. But based on that first start, yeah, I don't have your stats from last year at all. But based on that first start, you looked well improved. It looks like there was development there. What were some things that went well for you in the summer and in rehab for the knee and things like that?
Um, think definitely like the knee being a problem, like also happened to like showed me that I had mechanical problems. And I think I definitely improved a lot over that. Like over the summer, I think I definitely improved a lot because I think it just kind of exposed my mechanics a little bit, and I just feel a lot cleaner now, and I feel like it's a lot more effortless, and I think that I feel like I improved a lot over that aspect of things.
What were some things that you did to alter those mechanics? Like, let's get nerdy for a second. I want laymen to not be able to listen to this podcast level nerdy. So you get in the gym. I'm not sure who you work out with. I know there's a bunch of guys in that region that do really good work. Um, so what kind of did those changes look like for you on a very specific level?
Well, one of the things I was doing was I had like a super long and just inefficient arm action. So I used a thing called a pocket path, which is where like you strap it like to your body, and there's like a tube sort of like it's made of foam, and
Bolt through the tube, yeah.
yeah, and it just keeps you short. Like that's one of the things I worked at because I used to be like all the way around, and like it was just so inefficient, and it also just like showed the hitter the ball. So now I hide it a lot better now. I've been told. So that was one thing, and I feel like it's a lot more efficient now and healthier and just cleaner. And another thing with my lower half, like I said, with the knee over the toe, I'm more knee over the heel now and just hinging better, which has helped velocity. And also, like I had just working on hip and shoulder separation. I've never been a very mobile guy or got very good hip and shoulder separation. That's one thing I've worked on. Um, Also, just kind of my lower half mechanics as a whole. Because I wouldn't hold tension in my back leg at all. Like my knee was always pointed forward.
Okay.
And like what you want to do is you want to hold your knee back like as long as possible as you drop down. And you want to hold tension in your back leg as long as possible until you finally like go to foot plant and then you explode. And, like that's another big thing that I have been working on this off season.
Gotcha. So definitely like uh, what I've heard in this is that that knee injury exposed some things for you and
Mhm.
gave you things to fix, which is, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously getting hurt is never a good thing. You never want to be out for an
Yeah.
extended period of time, but it seems like you've really made that kind of a progression thing and used it as an aid. Um, as we mentioned, uncommitted. What's that? Class 2025. So you've got this season and next to figure that out. But what's kind of the the current spot you are in recruiting, and what do you think the next steps for you are, and even into the past, what it's looked like for you?
Into the past, I haven't had like a huge amount of college attention. I mean, a little bit. I've been talking to a few, some that want to come watch me. I'm not really sure what the future looks like, to be honest. I haven't thought about it a whole ton. I've been just kind of just thinking about the moment, really. I'm not really sure how the future is going to look. I don't think about it very much.
Which is a good thing. I mean, with where you're at in your career, you've got a lot of time still. Um, you guys play a lot of games this year. You always play a lot of games. You're a play the max. But you got a lot of good teams on the schedule. You play Liberty North, Jeff City, who's got a buckets of good hitters, Nixa, Webb City, teams like that, and Red and Blue. Are there any starts that you're looking forward to, guys you want to pitch against, things like that?
Definitely. Obviously, this on Friday, Platte County, I've been looking forward to that for a long, long time because I had to start against them my freshman year, real close game, and I ended up going the whole game, but we lost 2-1. So I've been looking forward to that game for a long time because I didn't get to throw against them last year. Um, Definitely Liberty North. They're a great team, got lots of great hitters. So that I love going against the great hitters. That's always so much fun. So I'm excited. I'm not sure if I'll get to throw that game. I'm not 100% sure what games I'll get to throw,
Right.
but I'm really hoping I get that one. Also, Nixa, I'm not 100% sure how that red and blue tournament's gonna go, but I may throw against Nixa, and I know they were very, very good last year, and they got a lot of returners, so that would be a really fun game to throw too.
They struggled in Southern California, and they lost to Glendale yesterday. So they're going to be
Yeah.
kind of a team to look out for. Glendale, Sebastian Norman, great player, but they've struggled in pitchers duel games so far,
Yeah.
which for you is a good thing. But if you start against Platte County, I don't think you would pitch. This is just logistically, obviously, I'm not your pitching coach, but you play St. Joe and Truman next week, and I don't think you'd pitch either of those games. And then you have Kickapoo and Nixa to start red and blue. Which is next Friday, not this coming Friday, but the following Friday. So I would figure it'd be one of those games or even Webb City the next day. Either way, you're pitching against a pretty good team in red and blue. And then Liberty North lines up pretty well as well. But Tyler, from what I know, we're gonna get some fun questions. He said you're a listener of the pod, so
Yeah.
the specialty in the fun questions, we'll kind of get into that.
All right, I got a statement real quick. I need you to no hit Northtown, and then
What did I do?
need you to throw fastballs right down the middle to Winnetonka.
I don't know
I
why.
don't know.
That reminded me of. Do you remember when Derek Jeter was in his last year, and in the All-Star game, Adam Wainwright just threw him like 80 poo right down the middle, like in his first at bat. In the AL, that was year the Royals won the World Series. And the AL won the All-Star game by the 2 runs that Derek Jeter knocked in because they were throwing him 80 right, like BP tossing him over the middle. So we can thank Derek Jeter for that World Series that we won, was my point. But I don't know, it just reminded me of that.
All right, so if you and Jack were on opposite teams facing each other, how many times do you think you get him out of 100?
That's interesting because I've thrown against him a few times. Like we've done inter squads. I think like career off of me, he's 1 for 4. Yeah, he's 1 for 4 off me. So get him out. I don't know. I feel like he'd start to kind of catch on to me a little bit at the end because he knows me so well. He knows how I love to sequence. I don't know. I bet out of 100 times, probably 70. I think that's a fair number.
He's still batting 300. That's pretty good.
That was kind of where my brain went, like in that region. I do think we're assuming that these are kind of independent of one another. I mean, by like the 60th AB, he would just absolutely know what you were going to throw. I mean, you could
Yeah.
perfectly sequence everything you were going to throw after that. Unless you just had no method to it and you're like throwing 3-0 sliders every at
Yeah.
bat. But that's fair. Um, in that same boat, we asked Drew last week if for you as a pitcher, if you had to face 100 major leaguers, or you had I guess the better question would be if you have to pitch a complete game. Pitch count doesn't matter. You have to pitch a complete game. How many do you think you're giving up?
How many runs?
Yeah.
Is he playing the Dodgers or the Athletics? You got to give him a.
You are playing, we'll say the A's. Yeah, we'll give you
They're all pretty good still. All the players.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of runs. Probably, I don't even know. A big number. A lot.
Jose Seiko comes out of retirement
What is
for
the
1 game.
what is the highest like qualified ERA currently in the like obviously there's the guys who like come in and give up 4 earned runs without requiring.
INF.
So they have like infinite ERA. There's
Yeah.
guys on our website, I just found out that if you have an infinite ERA, our website puts it in as a 0 ERA. And I'm like, no, I don't want you to do that. So it's like there's guys that I'm like, wait, I thought that kid gave up like 7 runs. And it's like, oh, he did. It's just he didn't record an out. So the website's like, that's a 0 ERA. I'm like, that's not what I meant. But you are on the ERA leaderboard. Fun fact, we're trying to get the photos put in for it right now, so it looks kind of jank. But in terms of the ERA leaderboards, you are tied for first with about 75 other guys that have 0.00 ERAs. But yeah, man, we did try to lean into the future a little bit. About, are there goals for you? Obviously, look, staying in the present is not a bad thing, especially for a high school kid. But is there anything at all that you look forward to, dreams you have, goals for development in the future?
Yeah, I mean, my goal for the recruiting process is really just to find a school that, wants me, and I'm going to find a good pitching coach that's going to be able to help me improve and that's like my main goal. I'm not too worried about like,
Looks.
those like the Power 5 schools and all that. Like, I'm not too worried about that. Like, just trying to go to the best school, like whether it's D1, D2, JUCO, whatever it is. I just wanted to find like a pitching coach that's going to be able to help me reach my potential, and that's pretty much the way I look at it.
I mean, I was not a bad way to look at it at all. And I feel like recruiting for hitters and pitchers is different. You're a lot more constricted by a pitching coach than you would be a hitting coach. Like watching things on, the UCLA teams that, weren't letting guys warm up the way they wanted to, and those guys struggled, and then they get in different situations and they're able to really flourish. So what is from a pitcher standpoint, what's the difference there? Because hitters in the interactions with coaches seem to be a little bit different. So what's your relationship with your pitching coaches, guys who are training you in the off season, things like that?
Well, this offseason I went to Bob Zimmerman at Premier. He's a phenomenal pitching coach. I think in my warm-up routine in the past, I think it was like causing me to have some bad mechanical habits, and I think that he kind of broke those and showed me great ways I can still get ready and still feel good, and it still, kind of be my way. And like he's really good at catering to the person and not trying to make everyone do the same thing. So that's one thing I love about that. I think he's really good at that.
And go for it, Tyler.
So what's the routine for you now? Like when you get ready for a game, or like what's the game day routine? Like do you have a certain breakfast you eat?
Um, so what I like to do is like about hour 45 before the game, I'll get my massage gun, like get all the muscles surrounding my arm, my shoulder, hip flexor and like hamstring and stuff, and just kind of stretch out, make sure my body feels good. Um, and then after that, I'll start my dynamic warm up, get some running in, skips, and just making sure my body feels good. I'm ready to, explode and just do whatever my body demands whenever I'm pitching. And after that, I do my bands and my plyos and like wrist weights and stuff, and just a whole bunch of exercises to just get my shoulder and my arm feeling right. Because I'm huge on making sure my arm feels great before I throw, and just like, you know, I like the saying you warm up to throw, you don't throw to warm up. Like I'm huge on that, and just taking care of my arm. And then I used to like long toss like as far as I could before games like last year. And I feel like that just kind of not really drained me, but like I feel like it was just a little much. So now I go out to maybe like 200 feet, um, just kind of do some pull downs on the way in, and then um, throw some change ups. And then once I get to the pin, I'll do like two of each pitch from the wind up and from the stretch, and just really trying to dial in all my pitches, making sure I can throw them where I want. I don't like a lot of time in between each of my things. Like I like to go from plyos to long toss to bullpen to game. Like I hate waiting. I hate because I feel like my arm just gets cold. But that's kind of my routine.
Throwing as far as you can. You were a Trevor Bauer fan, weren't you?
Yes, 100%. I love Trevor Bauer. I feel like when I started watching his stuff, that's when I really got into pitching, started getting into plyos, and just I feel like, I don't know, that's just when I really started getting into baseball.
Him and Scherzer have that unique warm up.
Yeah, I love Scherzer too. I love their just mentalities on the mound whenever they're pitching. That's one of my favorite things about them.
I am also a big Trevor Bauer guy, which for good and bad reason. Obviously, there's been things that happened to him recently that are not great. But his content, like just in terms of value to baseball fans and people that enjoy kind of that niche stuff,
Mm-hmm.
is excellent. Like when I can't remember I think he was struggling with his cutter when he was playing in the MPB, and he did a video on just trying to get his cutter back, and it's like I didn't even think that this was something that pitchers at that level ever had to like conceptualize, like drawing a black dot on the side of the ball to view movement. And it's like, oh, and it's very niche, and I really enjoy his content in that regard.
Yeah.
What's arm care like after the game? Is there anything specific you do? Because you seem like a guy who's really taken care of it before, um,
Mm-hmm.
with the mantra and things like that. So what's arm care like? You know, you get done throwing 70, 80 pitches and starts. What is that for you?
Yeah. So pretty much like after every day, like no matter what my throwing was, it's like 2 days after starting, I threw 60 feet, or if I go throw 100 pitches, I'm doing like the same thing every day.
Mhm.
So I started off with like I get a 2 pound ball, and I just do like I and YT raises, just standing up, and then I'll get on like a quad position and do like Y raises, and then like 90 raises. And then I'll do some like scap holds laying on my belly. Just really trying to get it to burn, like especially like the trap and the rear delt, and just those muscles. And then I use after that I do this thing called crossover symmetry bands, and it's like 10 reps, 6 second decels on each exercise. So it's just really getting the working those muscles that you used whenever you were pitching, and just getting them burning, and it makes it feel 10 times better.
I would like to rescind my comments from last week's episode about how being a PO might be fun. Uh, like officially on the record, because that is way more work than I would ever be willing to do.
Heels also run a lot more.
Yeah. They're also
I'm
they
glad I was the
just
catcher.
be in better shape. Obviously, you
Uh,
kind of have to when you're doing a repetitive arm action 80
mhm.
times.
Is Brinkley one of your weights coaches?
Yeah, he's one of the weights coaches. He's our defensive coach in football, but I don't do in school weights. I love working out outside of school at my gym.
Where do you go and plug your gym?
His
I
own.
go to Pride Fitness in Liberty. We got like so many great baseball players that go there, like Trey Snyder, Titus Sissel, both Gibbler brothers, Grant Hollister, Hunter Hampshire, Jackson Glick, just a whole bunch of kids. Like Chase Porter goes there too. It started out pretty small at first, but it's grown a lot, and it's like a family there. Like it's so much fun going out to work out there, and you always get good work in. It's so much fun.
And before we move on, even with that and summer ball, we talked about it a little bit as well. What um it's a competitive atmosphere. You know, every guy that you mentioned just then are guys that are playing high level college
Mhm.
baseball and have been the best in the game in Kansas and Missouri over the last couple of years. What's that atmosphere like? Because I've been in the gym with guys that don't care, and even on the high school level, there's guys on your baseball team right now that are probably have came to terms with the fact that they're not going to go play for Vanderbilt, and so they might have their head a little bit less in it. So, what's the atmosphere like in a gym full of guys like that?
It's amazing. I mean, there's it couldn't be any better. I mean, everyone in there is like everyone has played with each other for a long time, so everyone's talking, everyone's always talking crap to each other. Like whenever I went into the gym, like after the Blue Springs game, I saw Nick Gibbler and we were just talking crap to each other, and because I struck him out, but they ended up winning the game, obviously. So it's a fun back and forth a lot of time. We're always competing with each other, like on our like 10-yard split times or like our deadlift speeds, just little things like that. Everyone's always competing with each other and just trying to be the best. So it's a lot of fun. It's a great environment to improve in. Everyone's always pushing each other. It's awesome.
But we were going to talk about what do weights look like as a pitcher? Is there anything specific that you think works well for pitcher development?
Yeah, I mean, I think like my favorite lifts in the gym are like deadlift, reverse lunge, and I think those are great for pitchers. Like deadlift, I think applies to like every position in baseball. I think it's great for hitters. It's also great for pitchers, and that's my trainer's favorite lift. So everyone in there does it. I think reverse lunge has definitely contributed a lot and has shown a difference in my pitching because it's just kind of a similar motion, like one-legged. Um, I feel like that has translated a lot. As a pitcher, I don't do a whole lot of sprinting. Like I definitely do sprinting. Like I do a lot of power work because you're being explosive as a pitcher. It's explosive, fast movement, but definitely not as much as some of the infielders and outfielders are doing.
Um, that is the majority of what I have or what we have for the interview.
I just
We're
had a
gonna
random thought. Hold on.
go for it.
Who's gonna lift more out of you, Jack, and Dan, your dad?
Oh, we've had this talk. Like my dad has, or my brother and my dad have like made this bet at one point. Like whoever gets the most or deadlifts the most gets $1,000. But
How do I get involved in this?
my dad would just not come in. Like my my brother would 100% win that. His deadlift it's crazy, but I think he would definitely win that out of all of us. He's definitely ahead of me.
I
I'm
have
about to ask a bunch of stupid questions here.
I have seen some of the numbers out of the Pride gym, and it's nuts. Like
Mhm.
every so often I'll see like somebody shatters the vert record or like the bat speed record, and it's like, Jesus God, like this is
Yeah.
definitely probably the best baseball development gym in terms of who goes in Missouri. But Tyler, please blow us away with your
I just have random thoughts come to my head. I don't know why. I'm just one of those people. If you were to flip and be a hitter and Jack was pitching, do you think you could get a hit off of him? Or would he even be able to hit the zone? You can be honest.
Maybe he went to Premier too just to work on his throwing. And he got off the mound. He hit 86, which that's not bad at all for a catcher. But he has no off speeds. He's just fastball, and he threw live at our inner squads, and he struck like two dudes out, but he couldn't really find the zone. I think it would take a few at bats before I'd get enough strikes to do something with it. But I don't know. I wasn't a great hitter. I
he's
don't know.
going
I think
0 for 0 with 6 walks.
that's probably how it would go. I think maybe I could get lucky if I get a fastball in the zone. He's got kind of a straight fastball, but maybe I don't know.
Get one middle, and maybe you do
All
something
right.
with it, but
Brendan, 100 at bats. You get a hit off of Eli? I've seen you
God,
try to
no.
hit.
God,
off.
no, dude. Me and my current, no.
You and your past.
I'm a
no.
NARP, dude. I'm a non-athletic regular person now. I what's his name? Isaiah Mosley plays at Mizzou Rec, like basketball. And it's like every time I go, I'm demoralized afterwards. Like I am not cut out to be an athlete anymore. It is time to just embrace being a white journalist and all the things that come with it. So no, my answer is no. I think if he didn't know that I was an awful hitter, I think I could draw 2 walks in 100 at bats. And it's not even because like I would just probably not take the bat off my shoulder, just hope that he would miss.
If I were you, I
4
would just put a bunt form down and just try to get it done.
I bet I still have some speed. I bet if I could lay down a bunt, I might get on.
I have no speed. I'll hit a double in the gap and you can throw me out at first.
Right. Yeah.
Oh man, me.
Tyler, you remember when you were playing kickball in elementary school and you'd have like somebody that
He's
would
kicking over the fence.
Yeah, dude. Tyler, you couldn't kick a ball if it sat in front of you.
Where's this coming from?
I don't think I would pay to watch you play soccer for 5 minutes.
I couldn't play soccer. I would have to kick with my left leg. I can't kick with my right leg.
That's what I was getting at. Eli, if you had to play a non-baseball sport, what would you play? Like professionally?
Oh, professionally? I mean, if I had to play a sport, I mean, it would definitely be wrestling. But I could not do that professionally.
Speaking of wrestling, your up-door neighbor is listening to The Rock on Monday, on whatever they're watching, like Monday Night Raw, and I can hear
My
The Rock.
upstairs neighbor?
Yes.
Is it my upstairs neighbor or my mom?
It's definitely upstairs.
Okay. But I will die on the hill. I'm going to say this every episode. I will die on the hill that I could be a professional pickleball player within 6 months. If I played pickleball every day for 6 months, I would be unbeatable.
If pickleball had home runs, I'd be the best.
Yeah, if pickleball courts were the size of baseball fields, you'd be golden. But you have any other random thoughts, Mr. ADHD?
No, not yet.
Eli, you're more.
Wait, is Dan or Jack around?
No, Jack's at the gym right now, and I think my dad's upstairs. It's just me down here.
Got you.
Fan of the show.
Yeah,
Dan.
friends and 47th cousins of the show.
Your dad's been a fan of us for a long time, or at least texted us for a long time.
Yeah.
Longer than I've worked here.
Oh yeah, his dad. Yeah. Your dad has been a contributor to Metro Sports since before Tyler could drive. I'm kidding. You could drive by then. But that's all we have planned for the interview. We are going to talk about some of the opening week things. I'm not sure how much you follow everybody else, but you're more than welcome to stick around, or if you got things planned, more than welcome to head out. But just some Creekside stuff, St. Louis side stuff. Vianney actually has lost twice now to Oakville. They lost after we started recording. I don't know who pitched for Oakville today, but they got diced by Adam Kilburn the other day, like diced. But some ranking stuff for Sunday's rankings, which are in progress, and then some Eastern Kansas stuff as well. But let me look at who pitched for. Oh, he's good. What's his name? Dankenbring for Oakville. But yeah, that's all we've got for you. You're more than welcome to stick around if you'd like, but it's around dinner time as well. So
yeah,
feel free.
All right. I think I'm gonna head out. I was planning on heading up to the gym after. So
no problem.
All right.
We'll see you Friday at 10 a.m.
All right.
Hey.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yep, no problem.
That's it.
Thank you. After a brief intermission, we are back. Once again, thank you to Eli Helberg for joining us on this fine Wednesday afternoon. We're going to talk a little bit about Creekside, the Troy tournament, some rankings rebuke, and guys who have been impressive so far. First, with Creekside, you and I watched Cole Gibbler's start at Creekside. Tyler, what were some things that impressed you? Things that you thought both teams could have done better? Obviously, Bentonville, not somebody who we covered, but they played pretty well. And even into Matt Lewis and the Liberty North guys from that nasty arm angle. And then I'll touch on St. Louis.
Are we going to talk about how there was more scouts than fans?
Yeah. It felt odd because
you counted like 5 and then you sent out a tweet where it's like, oh yeah, there's like 5 scouts here watching. And I texted you or I called you. No, I went over to you because you didn't respond to my call. And I'm like, you missed about 12. He's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, here, come over here.
Yeah, watching.
And they're all watching him throw a bullpen. Yeah.
I mean, the funny part to me was that when the game started, there was like the Bentonville fans we were sitting right behind home plate. The Bentonville fans were to our left. We were with the Kearney fans, and then like just a bleachers full of scouts to our right. Like they all sat. There's like 14 guys with radar guns, and what was funny to me is that since they all talked to each other the whole time, there could have been one guy with a radar gun and he just read it to everybody else. It probably would have worked so much easier than
94.
Four guys with their radar guns looking, writing down on a piece of paper, taking notes or what have you. Gibbler pitched really well in the first couple innings of that start, but he
pitched well while the scouts were there.
Right. He didn't get shit per se. First start of the year, but they were able to get a hold of him. He kept leaving the breaking ball up was what I think you and I kind of landed on and talked about.
Yanking his fastball a little bit. It kept going too far in.
Well, and he's pitching to a lot of righties, which as a lefty, it's going to yank towards the bat. But they were behind the fastball until that last inning before he got pulled, and they kind of sped up to it. But he left 3 or 4 breaking balls hanging, and Bentonville made him pay. Bentonville's a good group. They played decent in Kansas City. I know they lost to Lee Summit West, and a couple other teams. I don't think they won. I think they won 1, maybe 2 games of that tournament. Another team that struggled in Creekside was Lafayette. we caught the end of their loss to Platte County. I wasn't able to watch them, but their
They
problem,
almost came back that game.
they did. It was like 7-1 at one point, and they only lost
It
7-5.
was 7-0.
Really?
Yeah.
One thing that about them that stood out to me so far is they were a little impatient over the weekend. Xander Schmidt, I would argue, probably the best catcher in Missouri. Helberg's up there, but Xander Schmidt, in terms of prospect value, probably has the most to offer. He had 9 strikeouts and I believe 5 games, which is not awful. But still 2 strikeouts a game for a guy who's supposed to be a pretty polished hitter. Just not his best tournament. They've got more than enough time to turn it around. I talked about it in that article that I wrote. Most of their lineup, qualified hitter wise, is hitting right around the 300 mark, which for a ranked team is okay. In terms of on base percentage, not much better. Schmidt, despite the 9 strikeouts, still has a 450 on base and a 950 OPS. So far from bad.
And they did pretty well against Liberty North.
Yeah, they played well against Liberty North. They didn't play poorly really at all through the tournament. They beat Blue Springs and they beat Liberty, 2 ranked teams. Liberty and Blue Springs will both likely be ranked next week. Losses to Lee Summit West, Liberty North, and Platte County. We were able to watch that Liberty North game a little bit, and it just never really felt like they were in control.
I mean, for a little bit, they were cheering and jumping, and it's like, I feel like if you play the state champ, you can't cheer and jump just yet.
They obviously had some. They'd played right before in the same field.
Yeah, and I get like the difference between a good team and a great team is the energy. You can be a good team. You can be a team that goes undefeated throughout the regular season, but if you go to a team that's like 20-10, that has more energy and more passion, the more passionate team has a better chance of winning.
And
I think that's how baseball works.
I agree. I think the problem in the Liberty game, their starter did not pitch poorly, but he had to get pulled early, got up there in pitch count, and he gave up that big 2-out rally, and I believe it was the 4th inning. Yes, the 4th inning, bottom of the 4th. Liberty North picks up 2 quick outs, one on a double that I think it was Carson Weldy Nolan Whaley tried to extend into a triple, and he was out by a solid couple feet on a really good relay. But after that, gave up a couple hits in a row. Liberty North just pretty sure stole a couple bags in that process as well, and they weren't really able to recover. They tied it back up later. But Cole Young was able to kind of slam the door there at the end. He only gave up one earned run. Landon Martin picked up the loss in that game. He gave up a run in an inning pitched. 42 pitches in that one inning, which is where you kind of get to scary territory. But do we chalk this up to beginning of season jitters?
Yes.
They played a very good conference.
And I feel like the first game of season is always the most stressful. Whether it's from like what Eli said with Kearney. You have a bunch of guys that haven't played the varsity level yet.
Right.
Varsity is different than you don't have a JV game in Missouri where you have more than 5 fans. It's like a different atmosphere. You're playing at this huge complex. You got a whole bunch of different teams watching you, coaches,
and
ball coaches. There's scouts walking around.
Let's not forget that they drove 4 hours to come to this tournament.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't this isn't in their backyard like some of the teams in Kansas City. And honestly, I give them credit in that Liberty North loss for the fact that they played Platte County on the same field 25 minutes before this game. Like they had to rebound Obviously, all of these teams had to rebound quickly because they all played back-to-backs. But from nearly coming back down 7 runs to then playing the back-to-back state champion and perennial state championship contender, I give them props. And then the next day for coming around and beating Blue Springs as well. They play in a good conference, Suburban Yellow in St. Louis, but they'll have plenty of opportunities to kind of redeem what is to them probably not the best week.
When they played Liberty North, it was like they were facing 3 different pitchers in one. We saw in warmups like he's going like right here, and then all of a sudden we just watch him and it just dropped all the way down here.
Yeah. Which was interesting because it felt like a lot of the times the arm angle signaled what he was going to throw. The fastball seemed to be a little bit more straight up. As he dropped the arm angle, it's where some of the breaking stuff came in. He was excellent in what are we calling that, a slurve or a slider that just broke and clipped the inside part of the plate for nearly every righty that he faced. And it got called a strike all night. And honestly, it was a strike. And he, through the first 3 innings, just really, that was his strikeout pitch. Anytime there was a 2-strike count, that was what was getting thrown. And he did very well in converting. I'm not sure what his final strikeout total was. And he didn't get the win either, which sucked. He only had 4 strikeouts, but he didn't walk anybody, and he only threw 68 pitches. So definitely a successful outing for them. Anytime your team wins, I guess it's a successful outing. Flipping over to the St. Louis side, we've got to talk about it. The number 1 team in Missouri, Francis Howell, who I had just tweeted 24 hours prior, was inarguably the best team in Missouri after they demolished CBC 16-1.
Got a few angry tweets in there.
I mean, yeah, outrage justifiably so. They lost 4-3 yesterday to Fort Zumwalt West. I was
looking good for my pick, by the way.
Which one, the Camden pick or?
No, the Fort Zumwalt West won't make it out of the first round in states.
They don't have any glaring issues. I'll give it to them. They're a complete team. They have some guys who are really good prospects: Nolan Sism, Matt Wolf, Jeter Purdy Jeter. What was his last name? It might have been Jeter Purdy or Jeter Rupp. Sorry, Jeter Rupp was excellent out of the pen. You also have to give some of the Howell guys their flowers. Dylan Coleman, not Dylan Coleman. That's the pitcher for
the Astros.
Really, I thought he was a Royals, but he played for the Royals at one point, didn't he? Dylan Coleman. Okay. Yeah. Grayson Coleman was excellent out of the pen for Howell. There was a 3-inning period where the only base runners were hit by pitches. Like nobody walked, nobody got on base. But the difference was a balk in the top of the 9th, which every umpire that I've talked to, most big baseball fans that I've talked to agree that it was a balk. I think he balked in 2 different ways. I don't think he stepped off with the right foot because he was in the windup. Only a runner on 30 was pitching out of the windup. It was his second pitch of the night. He just came out of the pen. And I think he disengaged before he stepped off. Like the ball in his glove took it back out of the glove before he stepped off. Also very well could have been that umpire wanted to get home because I did too. But that was a really well umpired game.
I've seen some. I just want to get home calls.
This year I haven't.
Pretty well.
I've only watched 3 games in full. I have not seen any umpiring so far, which is good. I don't think there really in baseball is that many bad umps anyways in Missouri.
Hernandez.
But well, he's not calling high school games, thank God.
The game where I thought I would see bad umpiring was that 14-inning game I went to last year.
Yeah,
and it was really good umpiring. Like you feel like by the 14th inning when it's like 9 o'clock and you still have 2 more games after.
I told
because everything got moved back. It was like you would think you would want it over.
We last night I was talking to the in between like during a pitching change. He came and sat on the backstop, and I was like, I think legally you're allowed to order DoorDash after the 12th inning. He was like, I hope we're not here for 12. But Fort Zumwalt West wins it in 9, and I think that the thing about the balk that I'm not gonna give Hal I'm giving Hal a loss for is that they had 3 outs in the top of the order to capitalize. And the top half of their order has a guy who's probably going to get drafted. Leo Humbert, a Mizzou commit. I mean, top to bottom, that lineup is stacked. And they get a guy, they load the bases. And then a strikeout to end the night, or a fly out to end the night. But again, Jeter Rupp working out of a bases loaded jam, a good work by him. Just wasn't the Hal that I thought I would see.
The Mizzou AAA club didn't do as well.
Yeah, a bad night for Mizzou AAA and Mizzou, the actual team. But I'm not. Hal is in terms of pure talent, the number 1 team in Missouri, and I think the only team that rivals it within the ballpark is Lee Summit West. Liberty North, you can never count them out. Like Liberty North's always going to be.
They're always gonna have somebody new come in,
Right.
freshman or a JV player step up.
Jimmy Ogun Tuase, please somebody correct me if I said that wrong. Nolan Whaley, Weldy, Joe Hall and Bo Jonas have both stepped up, and Harrison Barnum as well. And then Trey Snyder is Trey Snyder still. But this team just develops guys. They're always going to be good, even if they don't have 7 of the top 10 prospects in Missouri.
Gabe Perry.
Yeah, Gabe Perry pitched really well at Creekside too. I think his next start's probably tomorrow. Also in that Troy tournament, Jackson claims 3rd over CBC, number 20 and number 15. Jackson has looked really good this week. They're going to be a big time riser in the next poll on Sunday for sure, unless they fall apart at the end of this week. Not much to say about that one. Jackson has just shown that they're a little bit better of a team than we thought they were. They lost a lot last year, kind of a Liberty North-esque senior class that moved on, but it seems they've retooled just as well. Rankings rebuke. This is what I'm looking forward to. It's my favorite. Always my favorite. Vianney falls to Oakville twice. They lost in the first game to Adam Kilburn, who, as we mentioned earlier, I think he only threw like 5 innings. He had 10 strikeouts, no walks. He gave up like 2 hits and an unearned run. And they win 5-2. They beat him again today, 4-3. So Vianney, some trouble in paradise early. They've got a great pitching staff, but the hitters, not quite what we thought.
You were really high on Vianney.
I was very high on Vianney.
Was that team you picked to win state?
That was my state pick.
I bet that's just hurting you in the heart right now.
I still think they could do it. They just need their starters to go a little bit deeper, and obviously that'll become less of an issue as the year goes on. And I also think that the middle of the heart of their lineup has not hit particularly well so far. You will see the article about that before you see this podcast, but definitely something that I've looked into.
The good thing about baseball, the good thing about any high school sport that has a playoff
situation, playoff.
You only have to get good at the end of the season.
I'm pretty sure
Tennessee, if you lose so many games, you don't make the playoffs.
And Illinois too.
Yeah, so
you have to make the playoffs.
Yeah. which would make things more interesting. But like, no teams in a like. I would say every team wants to win, but you're not in a rush to get your hot streak
Yeah,
at this
like
point.
if you look,
You can win 20 games in a row, and not be on your hot streak.
this is
If
an
that makes
extreme example, but Cardinal Ritter started the year in basketball like 4-11, and they or 4-10, and they finished 17-1 and won the state title. They didn't lose
Father
a
Tolkien was around that too, right? Their basketball team.
Father Tolton wasn't as good as I thought they were going to be. Father Tolton went 18-10, and they lost in the I don't even know if they made it to the state tournament. Let me look. No, they went to the state tournament. They lost to Logan Rogersville, who on the baseball side, pivoting back, is going to be a ranked team. They're very good thus far down in southern Missouri. We talked about it kind of a little bit before the show. First of all, neither of us have been to Logan and Rogersville. Tyler justifiably asked where that even was. It's in Rogersville, Missouri. So
When
shout
did
out.
I ask that? Hold on. I
You
know Roger.
asked where. No, you don't. You
No,
asked.
you said I don't even know where. No. Before the podcast, you
Mhm.
looked you were telling me about this because they flew on your radar, and you were like, I
Yeah.
don't even know where that's at, and I'm like, and you were like, it's in Rogersville somewhere, and I
Um,
never said I didn't know where it's at.
you said you didn't. You're like, where is that at? And I was like, Rogersville. You're like, makes sense. Logan Rogersville.
That first part, the Logan
I'm
part.
excited.
You
They
said
have a
you're playing
double dip against Blair Oaks. Blair Oaks picked up an upset win today over Borgia. So I'm not too certain how that's going to shake out now with Blair Oaks on the radar. Borgia, a top 15 team. Jack Nobe for 45 minutes before Micah Henson had 14 strikeouts was the strikeout leader with 11. Micah Henson, good start to his year so far.
Is Blair Oaks good at every sport?
Yeah, no, they're just a athletic school. They're like
They're a football powerhouse.
yeah, they're a powerhouse in most sports.
Are they class 3 now?
I'm not sure. I don't know. Are they public? Is Blair Oaks public?
Pretty sure, yeah.
Then they don't get any, they don't apply to championship multiplayer.
I think they're still class 3 or
Yeah,
4.
you can't, you can only move up if you're a public school, you can only move up through enrollment. That's why Vashon's still in class 4. Um,
That's why Cardinal Raiders should be class 6.
yeah. And speaking of Father Tolton as well, they will be in class 6, by the way. Father Tolton, a team that we caught a little bit of flack for not ranking them in the preseason. They have started the year expectedly well. The High School Baseball Coaches Association has them ranked number 1 in 4A. I'm not sure if I agree with number 1, but they're definitely a top 5 team in 4A, and they will likely be ranked this week. Were we right about Rockhurst? This is I have this circled, dotted, because I'm a known Rockhurst hater. I don't know. The idea that I hate high school baseball teams is interesting to me. You still have that? Just for the rest of the pod, just for the Rockhurst up there. They struggled a little bit in the opening tournament. They went 2-2. They beat Lee Summit North and Life Prep. But their Life Prep win. Oh, a win is a win. I will absolutely give to you that a win is a win. Blue Springs beat Life Prep 16-0, and Rockhurst beat them 8-7. That's a glaring difference. And I haven't looked at the stats for it. I did not put the stats in for those games. They're in the website, but I did not. I was not the one who put them in. And their losses have been largely offensive losses. Their pitching staff hasn't been great. 10, 5, 9, and 8 runs per game. But in the 2 games they lost to Green Valley and Liberty, they didn't score. Which Cipolla and what's the catcher's name? I can't think of his name. He's the best player on that team. Their catcher is the best player on that team, in my opinion. Evan DeMario just haven't been great thus far. There's a lot of really good hitters that I've looked into that haven't been, playing to their best yet. Evan DeMario only hitting 231 with a 333 on base so far this year. They play Washburn Rural on the Kansas side next, but Rockhurst may be unranked next week, and
You
it
said that a little bit quieter.
may be unranked. But I like Liberty. My jury is still out a little bit on Liberty. They're Liberty, so they're good, obviously. We didn't have them ranked in week 1. Will we have them ranked in week 2? I don't know. But that
Rockhurst is number one best team,
the little end all the bottom 8 in the top 25, 17 through 25, is where I'm really like, I don't know. Really 15 through 25. I got through the top 10 writing like the first mock-up of this Sunday's. For those of you that don't know, the rankings are an interactive process, but they are not a coach's poll. Nobody votes. It is all an internal decision of which I have spearheaded for some time now. I trust and believe that I do more research than is really necessary. We put stats in for all of these games, and I hate to toot my own horn, Tyler, but let's be honest here, I do the majority of me and Tyler's stat assignments. Shout out to
Hey, okay.
Yeah,
I just got a 6 job. Like,
I get it.
down.
Again, I have only texted you once about it. I have texted everybody else in a group chat.
Very angry text.
The first one was a pretty angry text. Because I woke up on Sunday and there was like 70 games that didn't get stats put in on Saturday. And I had to do all of them, which is okay. And I really want to give credit to where credit is due to our team. Riley, Nick, Zach, even Cam and Kiara coming up, and Tana as well, doing great work. Riley and Zach and Landon, for that matter, did a great job on the False Nine podcast, which came out.
I haven't just watched it. Is it
It's good. Riley did a great job on the editing. He put more work into it than I do editing these. It took him. I have a quicker turnaround though. I'll give myself that. But I've been doing this for a while longer. But they're doing great work. I'm really excited for the future with those guys. Licking also impressed. What a name, by the way. I feel like every time we hear a name like that, hopping out of the seat. Licking, when they've had a good year so far. They were a team that we looked into in the preseason for kind of that 20 through 25 range. I'm becoming a little bit more certain that they fall in that in Class 3. Probably the best team in Class 3 right now. Guys who have impressed, that is our last little section that's going to be pretty limited. Trey Snyder had 2 bombs in the Creekside tournament. Colton Sims in Shawnee Mission East's first game had 2 homers. Shawnee Mission East looks like they could do a lot of damage in Kansas 6A, especially with some things that we have found out recently about some of the competitors. Did want to touch, we learned a little bit more about it today. He wasn't on our preseason pitcher of the year in Kansas. Glavin Bohovich should be returning at some point. He's 9 months post UCL tear, but we weren't sure kind of what that would look like going into the season. I'm sure Nebraska doesn't want him to totally ramp it up super quick in his senior year, but it would also be a tragedy if he didn't get to throw at all in his senior year. But Godspeed on the recovery. We want that kid. We want every kid to do well. But on our end, we had to kind of leave him off of the preseason pitcher of the year because we didn't know if he's going to pitch.
I was just checking out that. Is it Cole Angus, the Mid Buchanan kid?
I have no idea.
KCI Athletics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He pitched his first game, 3 innings, 2 hits, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts.
Not bad. Jaden on the Kansas side, Jaden Rose, he was our player of the week this week. That Blue Valley West offense has had to carry the boats in the log so far. He has 8 RBI in the 3 games that we have entered right now. It'll be more. After that, he didn't play super well in the win against Lee Summit, but against the South Dakota units, he had a homer, 2 triples, and a double, which comes out to 12 total bases and a 1.917 OPS.
Who was that? On opening day, there was a kid that had like 8 RBIs in one game.
I'm not sure.
He's from like a 3 or 2A school.
I haven't seen it yet.
You were putting in stats, and you mentioned his name.
Currently the stat leaders, Brooks Eaton, I think he had like 5 in one game.
Yeah.
But Micah Henson leads. This is pretty funny. Micah Henson leads in RBI and strikeouts. He has 8 RBI and 14 strikeouts.
I was about to say, like, he's a pitcher, right?
Yeah, he had a 14 strikeout game. Colby Deaver had a no-hitter to beat Fort Osage 7-0.
Shout out to the catcher.
Yeah, right. Yeah, hey, we have to give a catcher shout out. Grant Summerall for Lee Summit, who is a stock riser, as many of you may see in the article. He threw a complete game shutout. Jack Nobe pitched really well, had 11 strikeouts. Kilburn had 11 strikeouts on that win over Vianney. So really good pitching we've seen. So far, there have been some games that are really easy to put stats in for because it's like just put in the at-bats and then the runs, hits. You don't have to do much.
Those 3-inning games.
And not even the 3-inning games. Like complete. Every time that I said complete game, I meant 7 innings. Drew Dickerson, friend of the pod. Again, you come on to long fly ball and you hit nukes. That's all I've got to say. Which means that in my book, Eli is good for 7 no-hit innings on Friday. But that's all that I've got for
against the rival. 7 no-hit
that
innings.
would be nuts.
Let's wait for him to play Northtown.
Okay. All right. Let's not go there. All right, bud.
What's the score? What's our rivalry score right now?
Oh, yeah, I haven't pulled that up. It's probably almost over now.
Winnetonka versus Northtown are 2 schools. If not, I can always say that I told you Liberty North was a top 5 team. I'll go to them.
Dude, Game Changers app blows sometimes. Like it's just
You
I'm
mean
gonna
the $15 you
right now.
spend to look at the box scores is not?
It just takes forever to load sometimes. It also very well could be that I'm on my dorm's Wi-Fi. Dylan Butash just pitched to beat Aquinas. Complete game shutout, 1 hit. We just got the DM.
I just saw that. I was about to say something. Shout out Dylan Good. Bet he didn't think he'd be on the podcast.
Hold on. I am hold on, I'm about to text him back. I'm looking for it's like loading, I think. It keeps telling me that like the video is available, but won't tell me the score. I wonder, does nobody know how to use Game Changer? This is ridiculous, guys. If you can find it, I don't know, you text somebody. I will go see if it's put in anywhere else, but I have not been able to find it.
I mean, the only people I could text are coaches. I don't think they're on their phone game.
Guys in the dugout. I'm pretty sure our tennis team beat yours, though.
Attaboy. I don't know who's on our tennis team, but thank you. No.
There is a currently they play on the 29th. They haven't played yet.
Who?
It's at Northtown and Tonka. It says they might play again on the 29th because they're in tournament play right now, I thought.
Yeah, I'm like, it
I
said that.
I haven't found it yet, dude. I look at Twitter. Montana State and Grambling State are in overtime. By the time this comes out, March Madness will have like started. Holy crap, it got dark in there fast.
Yeah, it did.
That's my favorite part about editing this is the continuity of how dark it gets in the background. That's all I've got. We'll close it out. Thank you guys so much for listening. This is episode 4 of the Long Fly Ball podcast, and we will be back next.
Where I'm still at your mom's house.
Yeah, we're still at my mom's house. See y'all later.